Emergency communication in the digital age. The critical role of satellite phones. When infrastructure fails in an interconnected world where digital communication has become as essential as electricity and running water, the vulnerability of our communication infrastructure represents one of our greatest blind spots. While we carry powerful smartphones capable of connecting us instantly to anyone, anywhere on Earth, these devices depend entirely on a delicate network of cell towers, fiber optic cables, and data centers that can vanish in moments during natural disasters, cyber attacks, or infrastructure failures. When these systems collapse, millions of people find themselves cut off from the outside world, unable to call for help, coordinate with loved ones, or access critical information. This reality has driven security professionals, emergency responders, and preparedness experts to advocate for backup communication solutions that operate independently of terrestrial infrastructure. Satellite phones represent the most reliable alternative communication technology available to civilians today. Unlike cellular networks that rely on ground-based towers spaced every few miles, satellite phones communicate directly with orbiting satellites positioned hundreds of miles above Earth. This fundamental difference in architecture means that satellite phones can function anywhere on the planet where there is a clear view of the sky, regardless of local infrastructure conditions. While traditional communication networks require massive investments in physical infrastructure that can be damaged or destroyed, satellite networks operate from space, beyond the reach of most earthbound disasters. The technology behind satellite communication has evolved dramatically since the first commercial satellite phones appeared in the 1990s. Early models were bulky, expensive, and difficult to use, requiring specialized knowledge and considerable patience to establish connections. Modern satellite phones have become increasingly user-friendly while maintaining their core advantage of global coverage. Today's devices resemble traditional cell phones in size and operation, making them accessible to ordinary users who need reliable emergency communication but lack technical expertise. Understanding satellite communication technology. Satellite phones operate on fundamentally different principles than cellular devices, which explains both their unique capabilities and their operational requirements. While cell phones communicate with nearby towers using relatively low-power radio signals, satellite phones must transmit their signals across hundreds of miles to reach orbiting satellites. This requires more powerful transmitters and specialized antennas designed to maintain connections with fast-moving satellites. The satellites used for phone communication orbit Earth in several different patterns, each offering distinct advantages and limitations. Low Earth orbit satellites positioned between 400 and 200 miles above the surface provide strong signal strength and relatively low latency, but require complex constellations of many satellites to provide continuous global coverage. Medium Earth orbit satellites operate between 100 and 22,000 miles high, offering a balance between coverage area and signal strength. Geostationary satellites, positioned at approximately 22,000 miles above the equator, remain fixed relative to Earth's surface, but may have coverage limitations in polar regions due to their positioning. The choice of satellite constellation significantly impacts phone performance, coverage areas, and operational characteristics. Some networks provide truly global coverage, including polar regions, while others may have gaps in their coverage maps that could leave users without service in specific geographical areas. Understanding these differences becomes crucial when selecting satellite phones for specific use cases or travel destinations. Modern satellite phones incorporate sophisticated technology to optimize their performance within the constraints of satellite communication. Advanced antenna designs help maintain connections with moving satellites, while improved signal processing enhances voice quality and reduces dropped calls. Battery technology has also improved significantly, allowing extended operation times crucial during emergency situations when charging opportunities may be limited. The critical need for independent communication. Recent natural disasters have provided stark illustrations of how quickly modern communication infrastructure can fail. When Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, cell towers across the affected region went dark, leaving hundreds of thousands of people unable to communicate with emergency services or family members. Similar communication blackouts occurred during the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan, Hurricane Sandy in New York, and countless wildfires, earthquakes, and severe weather events worldwide. The Hawaii wildfire incident mentioned by emergency preparedness experts represents a particularly compelling example of communication infrastructure vulnerability. As fires swept through populated areas, cell towers lost power or were physically damaged by the flames. Traditional landline systems, increasingly rare in modern communities, also failed as utility lines were severed. Residents found themselves completely cut off from the outside world at the moment when communication was most critical for coordinating evacuations and emergency responses. These scenarios reveal a fundamental weakness in our communication systems, their dependence on terrestrial infrastructure that shares the same vulnerabilities as the communities they serve. When disasters strike, the very infrastructure we depend on for emergency communication often becomes an early casualty. Cell towers require electrical power, network connections, and physical integrity to function. During major disasters, any or all of these requirements may be compromised simultaneously. Satellite phones operate independently of local infrastructure, drawing their connectivity from space-based networks that remain operational even when ground-based systems fail completely. This independence makes them invaluable not only for emergency responders and government agencies, but also for ordinary citizens who want to ensure they can communicate during crises. The ability to call for help, coordinate with family members, or access emergency information can mean the difference between life and death in disaster situations. Operational considerations for satellite phones. Using satellite phones effectively requires understanding their operational requirements, which differ significantly from cellular devices. The most fundamental requirement involves maintaining a clear line of sight between the phone's antenna and orbiting satellites. This means satellite phones work best outdoors with an unobstructed view of the sky. Buildings, dense foliage, deep valleys, or other overhead obstructions can block satellite signals and prevent successful connections. This outdoor requirement represents both a limitation and an advantage. While satellite phones may not work reliably inside buildings, their independence from local infrastructure means they can provide communication capabilities in remote wilderness areas at sea or in regions lacking cellular coverage. For emergency preparedness, this trade-off often proves acceptable since many disaster scenarios involve evacuating buildings or sheltering in areas where outdoor access remains possible. The antenna positioning on satellite phones requires more attention than cellular devices. Users must ensure the antenna extends fully and points generally skyward for optimal performance. Some satellite phone models include visual indicators or audible signals to help users orient their devices for the best satellite reception. Learning to position the antenna correctly can significantly improve call quality and connection reliability. Dialing procedures for satellite phones often involve additional steps compared to domestic cellular calls. International calls typically require country codes, and some satellite networks have specific dialing procedures for optimal routing. However, these procedures remain straightforward enough for non-technical users to master with minimal practice. Most modern satellite phones include user interfaces that guide callers through the dialing process. Battery management becomes particularly important with satellite phones since their powerful transmitters consume more energy than cellular devices. Extended talk times or frequent connection attempts can drain batteries quickly, especially in challenging signal conditions where the phone must work harder to maintain satellite connections. Carrying spare batteries or portable charging solutions becomes essential for extended use or emergency situations where power sources may be unavailable for extended periods. Satellite network, coverage and selection criteria. Different satellite phone networks offer varying coverage patterns, making network selection crucial based on intended use patterns and geographical requirements. Global coverage networks provide communication capabilities virtually anywhere on Earth, including polar regions, remote oceans, and uninhabited land masses. These comprehensive networks typically come with higher costs but offer maximum flexibility for users who travel extensively or live in remote areas. Regional satellite networks may offer more affordable service options while providing adequate coverage for users who remain within specific geographical boundaries. These networks often deliver excellent performance within their coverage areas, but may leave users without service if they venture beyond network boundaries. Understanding coverage limitations before purchasing satellite phones helps avoid disappointment and ensures devices will work when and where needed. The technical specifications of different satellite networks affect call quality, connection times, and overall user experience. Some networks prioritize voice quality and offer clear, reliable connections that rival traditional phone systems. Others focus on global coverage or data services, potentially sacrificing some voice quality for broader capabilities. Newer satellite constellations often provide improved performance compared to older systems, but established networks may offer better customer support and accessory availability. When evaluating satellite phone options, consideration of intended use scenarios helps guide selection decisions. Emergency preparedness users might prioritize global coverage and long battery life over advanced features. Outdoor enthusiasts may value rugged construction and weather resistance. Business travelers might prefer devices that offer both voice and data capabilities for comprehensive communication needs. Cost considerations extend beyond initial device purchases to include service plans, activation fees, and ongoing charges. Satellite phone service typically costs significantly more than cellular plans, with charges for airtime, monthly access fees, and sometimes per-minute billing. However, these costs must be evaluated against the value of maintaining communication capabilities during emergencies or in remote locations where no alternatives exist. At emergency preparedness integration. Incorporating satellite phones into comprehensive emergency preparedness plans requires thinking beyond simple device ownership to consider training, maintenance, and integration with other emergency resources. Family emergency plans should include procedures for using satellite phones, designated contact persons who understand the device's capabilities, and backup power solutions for extended emergencies. Training family members or team members to use satellite phones before emergencies occur eliminates confusion and delays when every minute counts. Practice sessions should cover basic operation, antenna positioning, battery management, and troubleshooting common issues. Regular training ensures that multiple people can operate the devices if primary users become unavailable during emergencies. Maintenance routines help ensure satellite phones remain functional when needed. This includes periodic testing to verify service activation, battery condition checks, and firmware updates when available. Storing devices with proper battery management prevents degradation, while protecting phones from extreme temperatures and moisture preserves their reliability. Emergency supply kits should include satellite phones alongside other communication tools such as emergency radios and signal devices. Multiple device strategies, as employed by experienced emergency preparedness practitioners, provide redundancy and improve communication reliability during major disasters. Having several satellite phones allows family members to maintain independent communication capabilities rather than depending on a single device that might be lost, damaged, or unavailable when needed. This approach also enables simultaneous communication with different parties, such as emergency services and family members. Shout, real-world applications and success stories. Satellite phones have proven their worth in countless real-world emergency situations, providing life-saving communication when other systems failed. During the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, satellite phones enabled coordination of international rescue efforts when local communication infrastructure was completely destroyed. Remote research stations routinely depend on satellite phones for emergency communication, with numerous documented cases of successful rescue coordination through satellite links. Maritime emergencies frequently demonstrate satellite phone capabilities, with vessels using these devices to coordinate Coast Guard responses far from shore-based communication systems. Aviation incidents in remote areas often rely on satellite phone emergency calls to initiate search and rescue operations. Mountain rescue teams regularly use satellite phones to coordinate complex operations in areas lacking cellular coverage. Business continuity applications extend satellite phone utility beyond emergency scenarios. Companies operating in remote locations use satellite phones to maintain communication with headquarters and coordinate operations. Construction projects, mining operations, and agricultural activities in areas lacking infrastructure benefit from reliable satellite communication capabilities. International travelers increasingly carry satellite phones as insurance against communication failures in foreign countries. Political instability, natural disasters, or infrastructure limitations in developing regions can leave travelers without communication options. Satellite phones provide independent communication capabilities that function regardless of local conditions or political situations. Technology evolution and future developments. Satellite communication technology continues evolving rapidly, with new constellations and improved devices entering the market regularly. Recent developments include smaller, more affordable devices with improved battery life and enhanced user interfaces. Some manufacturers now offer satellite phones with smartphone-like features, including text messaging, basic internet access, and GPS capabilities. Integration with other technologies creates new possibilities for satellite communication. Hybrid devices that automatically switch between cellular and satellite networks provide seamless communication regardless of location. Emergency beacons integrated with satellite phones enable automated distress signaling alongside voice communication capabilities. Solar charging options extend operational times in remote locations or during extended power outages. Emerging satellite constellations promise improved performance and potentially lower costs. Companies are launching thousands of new satellites to create more robust networks with better coverage and faster connection times. These developments may make satellite communication more accessible to ordinary consumers while improving service quality for existing users. The convergence of satellite communication with other emergency technologies creates comprehensive safety solutions. Integration with GPS tracking, weather monitoring, and emergency alert systems provides enhanced situational awareness alongside communication capabilities. These integrated approaches represent the future of emergency preparedness technology. Conclusion and practical recommendations. Satellite phones represent critical tools for emergency preparedness in our increasingly connected yet vulnerable world. While cellular networks provide convenient daily communication, their dependence on terrestrial infrastructure makes them unreliable during disasters when communication becomes most crucial. Satellite phones offer independent communication capabilities that function regardless of local infrastructure conditions, providing essential backup communication for emergency situations. Selecting appropriate satellite phones requires careful consideration of coverage requirements, intended use patterns, and budget constraints. Global coverage networks offer maximum flexibility, but come with higher costs. Understanding operational requirements, including the need for outdoor use and proper antenna positioning, ensures successful communication when devices are needed most. Integration of satellite phones into comprehensive emergency preparedness plans maximizes their effectiveness while providing peace of mind for users and their families. Regular training, proper maintenance, and strategic deployment as part of broader emergency preparations ensure these devices deliver their promised benefits when disasters strike. The investment in satellite phone technology represents insurance against communication failures that could have catastrophic consequences during emergencies. Like other emergency preparedness measures, satellite phones provide capabilities that users hope never to need, but cannot afford to be without when crisis situations develop. For individuals, families, and organizations serious about emergency preparedness, satellite phones deserve consideration as essential components of comprehensive communication strategies that acknowledge the vulnerabilities of our interconnected but fragile communication infrastructure.